Greetings, YouTube. In Pathfinder and in 3.5, one of the abilities a druid has is the ability to assume wild shapes, animals, and at later dates, elementals, which is very cool. Being able to turn into an elemental, I thought would be just so bloody awesome. And sorry, cat hair. Um, and as you get a high level, you can change into those forms at will, and you can stay in them as long as you want to. There's no time duration, so a druid could spend all their time in some kind of non-humanoid form. Well, roughly non-humanoid. Some of the like the earth elementals definitely are humanoid shape. Which got me thinking: if you're in them long term, what happens? Do you cease to need to eat and drink and sleep? Do you stay in them when you're unconscious and sleeping, not necessarily conked in the head? If you go to an elemental plane as a fire elemental, and you are a fire elemental, you're there and you can walk around just fine. You are acclimatized to that plane. Can you stay there long term? Would you essentially just be a fire elemental? Or are you required to turn back into a mortal being on a somewhat regular basis? How powerful is the magic? And does it turn off or put on hold your biological needs? For example, say you're playing a character with a uterus who's pregnant. You turn into an elemental. Is the pregnancy put on hold, or does it continue? Which would be very, very, very strange if you were an air elemental, I guess, or a number of, or how you look at that. If you have a disease as a mortal, of course, at high level you really don't have a disease, but let's just say you do, and you turn into an elemental, is the disease put on hold? Or does it continue to progress and plague the character? I know I'm probably thinking about this too deep, but that's sort of what I do sometimes when I'm at work and my brain drifts into these directions and I find myself really going deep on some of the aspects of role-playing games or science fiction tropes and things like that. And this is where I end up. I end up sitting in front of a computer, covered cat hair, talking about strange aspects of role-playing games and how they might bump into the reality of someone actually living in that setting. If you've really immersed yourself in this, there are ramifications to all the things that we just kind of accept in science fiction and fantasy. And sometimes I explore those when no one's looking. Or no one knows that I'm thinking about these very strange things while I'm at work. So what do you think about elemental forms or other forms that you could adopt in a setting long term that could potentially have some kind of ramifications in comparison to the normal form the character has? So let's talk about strange, deep concepts just because, we're gaming geeks.